Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about the wisdom of the Democratic Party. The governor of California wants people constantly fidgeting with their mask. He says, going out to eat with members of your household this weekend, don't forget to keep your mask on in between bites. What he's saying is that you should take the mask off to put food in your mouth and then put it back on in between bites. This would require that people take their masks off and then put them back on dozens of times during a meal. That would be a pretty fantastic way to spread germs all over the place. If you remember back to the early stages of this madness, experts were telling people not to touch their face. And now the governor of California wants people touching their face constantly. And he's referring to a poster which says, minimize the number of times you take your mask off. Yet he's telling people to maximize it. He's a pretty smart guy, almost as smart as Joe Biden, who takes his mask off to cough.
Deal. The kinds of investment that will stimulate deal. The kinds of investment that will stimulate.
That's a pretty clever use of a mask by Joe Biden. And his running mate says that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. But Democrats seem to have a very interesting concept of what a fact is.
No more, no new fracking. We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, like what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipe?
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends. Number one.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. No more, no new fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah, so thank you.
When Democratic politicians say that's a fact, it means they're lying through their teeth. And not only do they want to ban fracking, but Kamala Harris says that she will prosecute oil companies and utilities for their role in the climate crisis. If California had to go for a full week without oil or electricity, the state would collapse into Mad Max-style chaos. And perhaps that's what the Democrats want. People on the political left spent the last 40 years screaming that we need to get out of the Middle East. No more wars for oil. And now they're attacking the president for making peace in the Middle East and pulling the troops out of Afghanistan, which is exactly what they said they wanted to do. We no longer need Middle East oil because of fracking. America has become the #1 oil producer in the world. So Democrats want to ban fracking, which will once again make us dependent on Middle East oil and raise prices of energy by a huge amount. But Americans probably won't need the oil anyway because Joe Biden wants them locked up in their homes.
Sworn in come January, and we have coronavirus and the flu combining, which many scientists have said is a real possibility. Would you be prepared to shut this country down again?
I would be prepared to do whatever it takes to save lives, because we cannot get the country moving until we control the virus. That is the fundamental flaw of this administration's thinking to begin with. In order to keep the country running and moving and the economy growing and people employed, you have to fix the virus. You have to deal with the virus.
So if the scientists say shut it down?
I would shut it down. I would listen to the scientists.
But the good news for Joe Biden is that he's been endorsed by a child who says she never endorses anybody because she believes that he can prevent bad weather. A year ago, I chose to quit working as an engineer so that I could devote my full time to exposing idiocy. But unfortunately, the idiocy is coming so fast now, I simply can't keep up with it. Anyway, Toto and Kyrie tell me that they need to go for a walk. You can visit them on the web at realclimatescience.com.